Yo, what's going on, guys? My name is Dave Higgins. Welcome to Sandbox Xplorer. Alright, today I'm going to be talking about an indie game developed by KillHouse Games called Door Kickers Action Squad. Now, originally this game released on Steam like about 2 years ago at this point, as a matter of fact, but it just launched on October 28th of this year for the Switch, and I got a chance to try it out. My good friends over at Nerd Entertainment Hub were given a code and they passed it along to me so I could do this review for the game so you guys can check it out and see how you feel about it. Now, the very first thing about the game besides the artwork when you first open it up that I noticed is the music. I love the music in this game. It reminds me of like 80s sort of retro music. It's got this really like epic feeling like you're going on an adventure, and I really love the soundtrack. Good on you, whoever was in charge of the music. Now, when you first open up the game, besides the leaderboards and the options menu where you can check the controller layout and you can change a couple settings like sound and music volume and gore and screen shake, which I personally recommend leaving it on because I really like the effect of it. I'll get to it in a minute. So for game modes, you have play, online co-op, and local co-op. Now, I've actually only played this in single player mode. I haven't played online or local co-op, but based off of my experience playing by myself, it seems that playing with another person would be like an exponential amount of fun, and I had a lot of fun just by myself. Online and local co-op modes seem to be essentially the same thing, except for obviously one of them is online matchmaking and the other one is localized, whoever is in a certain radius of view matchmaking. These modes require multiple systems with multiple copies of the game, as opposed to play, which allows you to play single player or with somebody else. When you load up the game, it actually gives you the option to play with 1 or 2 people. You just press the 2 shoulder buttons and then it brings you up. So once you decide how you want to play, you can go into the game modes and you get 3 options. So it makes the most sense to just start out with classic mode. Once you open up classic mode, you see a bunch of different chapters that have 12 missions in each one. Now, it seems like initially there were 5 different chapters as well as a challenge mode, so that kind of leaves you 6 different chapters. These consist of Gangland, the Radicals, Red Alert, the Big Apple, Cartel Territory, and then Challenges Volume 1, and there isn't a Volume 2, but that makes me believe that at some point they probably are going to have an update, so there could be more content, which leads me to the next chapter called King of the Slums, which appears to be new content indicated by the fact that it says new in the top right hand corner of it. So I'm guessing that recently, maybe even for the release of this version of the game, they have new content that you get to play more. You have more game to play now. So that alone there is 84 missions. You've got 84 missions to play right out of the gate. Now, since I went and played through almost all of them already, and I didn't get 3 stars on all of them, but you can go back and earn different levels of stars on them. I'll get to that too. Now, when you go to play the mission, you get to select one of 6 different characters. There's an Assaulter, Breacher, Shield, Agent Fergie, Recon, and Off-Duty Guy. Each one of them has their own set of guns and equipment that you can use, as well as power-ups and perks that you can earn from playing the game. They also each have a difficulty level of playing as the character, and my favorite description is the one for the Breacher that says, LOL. Lol. And as you can see by the level of the characters on there, I enjoy playing as the Assaulter and the Breacher the most. Now, as you play, you level up your character, and as you level up, you'll get points you can put into your skills. There's 2 categories, team and class. Team is present for all the characters. When you switch between them, whatever you put into those categories, those are still there. Class is for whatever class you've picked to play as. Now, for some reason, I don't know if this was for a specific reason or not, the maximum level that a particular character can be seems to be 17. I don't know why. It's a really specific number. I'm assuming that if the first 2 I reached that level with and it capped off, that the rest of the classes are probably not going to be higher or lower. I was a little bit disappointed that there was a level cap because I kind of wanted to just fill up all the categories and just become super OP. Maybe that kind of defeats the purpose of it, because it's kind of like a tactical game that you have to go in and make decisions on if you want to go into this room with this health that you still have, or I'll get into the gameplay, but I wouldn't mind it if there was like a higher cap or no cap, or if when you put stuff into like the team, it didn't count towards the class, because it seems like you could probably use points from one class that you don't use and level up the team one, and then you can add all of your ones from whatever class you want to your class. So it seems a little strange, but it's still fine. I'm guessing that there's a cap because that makes it more of a challenge instead of becoming kind of OP, like I said. But even if I was like max level, I would still have difficulty with some of these levels, because some of them are really difficult to beat. Takes a lot of trial and error. You gotta figure it out. It changes up a little bit as you go along as well sometimes, and It's challenging sometimes, but it's a lot of fun and it's really rewarding when you do beat a level. Also, when you're selecting your character, you have the option to choose an ultimate, which is basically when you level up these points that you get that I'll get into again momentarily. As you fill up the gauge, you'll be able to get different items or useful pieces of gear and stuff like that. The very top one, whatever ultimate you choose, you can use that. It can be like an additional gun, it can be incendiary bullets, it can be snipers, there's a whole bunch of different ones you can choose. Also, lastly, before we get into the actual gameplay, in order to unlock guns and equipment, you use the stars that you unlock as you beat the missions. When you unlock a piece of equipment that can be used by a different class, you don't have to rebuy it, you can actually use it with that class. So that's pretty cool. Alright, I've talked enough about getting into the game, let's talk about the actual gameplay now. So when I first booted up the game and went into the first mission, besides the music like I already mentioned, the first thing that I noticed was the art. I really like the way it's designed, I like the pacing of the character as he moves and other characters as well, which some of them are really fast and at first it's a little overwhelming because they move way faster than you can, but you adapt to it and get used to it and how to deal with each one of those, and you have to adjust to them. Like there's guys with knives that are just lightning fast. They'll run up to you and start slashing away at you, and if you're not careful, they'll get you. Then you get your kind of basic guys. They'll have like a rifle or just a handgun and they'll shoot at you, and a shotgun, and they'll try to get you, and you can kind of make waste of them pretty quick. As you get further and further into the game, some of the enemies get pretty challenging. For a little bit, none of them really have any armor, and you can kind of just like, especially if you use the shotgun guy, he just, sorry, the breacher. For a little bit, you can kind of just, you know, run through, and for the most part, you can just kind of blast away at everyone and make short work of them, but it's not that easy. But after a little while, it becomes very, very challenging. You have to really pick what you do and when you do it. This is where that gauge that I've mentioned a few times now comes into play. As you go through the mission and you start blasting through the enemies, you start earning SP. Now, as you fill this gauge, you're gonna get to different abilities that you can use that will help you in various ways that you have to choose which is the right one at the moment. The first one is a shield, and that will give you armor. It's not a ton of armor, but it's enough to give you a little bit of a buffer between the enemy's bullets and attacks and your health gauge. The next one is an equipment drop, and that is useful for if you ran out of your flashbangs or frag grenades, whatever it is that you chose for your equipment and you need some. Drop that and you'll gain a little bit back. Now the third tier one is pretty useful, especially later on in the game when you're getting attacked a lot and you know you need to recover some health. This will allow you to drop a med kit wherever you're standing, and when you press up on the left analog stick, you will gain back all of your health bar. Now once you get to a certain point in your skill upgrades, you'll actually be able to use that twice, which is super useful. The one after that is Revive Player, and I haven't had a use for it because like I said, I've been playing solo. If you're playing with somebody else and they die, I'm gonna guess that you can use that to revive the player that you're playing along with. So that one would be a really useful one if you're playing co-op of any sorts, really. The one after that is like, oh man, that one is the one I always try to go for. I try to keep as much health as I can so I can get this one. It is an extra life. When you die, you will be respawned, and it is a lifesaver kind of often. What I strive to do on pretty much every mission is I try to keep as much health and armor as I can, and I try to go up and get that extra life, and then I try to get as many kills as I can, get my health and armor back up, and then just try to maintain that, because sometimes if you don't have that extra life, it comes back to bite you. And then the very last one, that one is whatever unique ability that I mentioned earlier is. If it's incendiary bullets, if it's a laser sniper strike, if it's something else, it's gonna be up at the top, and you can use that one. I don't use that one super often because I'm usually more focused on the extra life and maintaining my health and my armor, but sometimes that one's really useful and you really need it to get by. Now, besides just slaughtering your enemies to get SP and to complete the mission, there's also other ways to complete the mission. Sometimes you have hostages throughout the map and they'll be sitting there kind of curled up in a ball, tied up, and you're gonna try to not shoot them. You don't want them to die because then you'll lose points and you won't be able to get that SP that you need. Pretty useful stuff, honestly. It's a very useful key aspect to the game. Try to save the hostages. Sometimes if you kill the hostages, you'll actually lose the mission. That was at least one mission that I ran into that, so be nice to the hostages and save them. I think if you were in that position, you'd probably want to be saved. Sometimes that's really hard though, because there's like a bunch of them like right next to them, and you have a shotgun, so you're just spraying into the room, and there's just, it's not easy every time. Especially there's one that you're on a plane and it's just full of hostages. When you get to that one, good luck. So like I said, later on into the game, there are tougher enemies. There's not just a knife guy, there's a really strong, super fast knife guy who's even faster somehow. There's guys who try to like blow themselves up. They'll run at you and they'll try to blow themselves up, and that's not usually something that you want. You usually want to not get blown up, so try to stop them before they get to you. Sometimes there's guys who they put bombs on the hostages, and if you get too close to them, they'll blow them up, and you know, you don't want that. You miss out on the SP and the hostage is dead, and then you might have been hurt by the explosion, and save them. Stop them. One of the toughest enemies in the game has a flamethrower. When you get to them, you're gonna have to keep your distance, and you're gonna have to unload a lot of ammunition. It's gonna be a challenge. Now there's a few other really tough ones up on the level of that flamethrower character, so just so you know, sometimes you're gonna run into a little bit of a challenge. Oh yeah, that's right. There's also old ladies that just want to like say negative things to you, but they kind of aren't. I don't really know. They're like saying police brutality, but like they're hitting you with a cane, so you have to stop them from hitting you with a cane, and somehow that's bad? I don't know. It seems like they're in a really dangerous place for some reason, and they're mad at you. I don't know. But then sometimes they like tell you that there's a donut around or something. I don't know. I don't like those old ladies, but you can't shoot them because then you'll lose points, and then you're shooting an old lady, and that's not really that good. I think I didn't even talk about the graphics, even though I was about to right before I talked about like all of the characteristics of the game. All of the characters on the screen, you and all the NPCs, they all like jump around and they seem lively. It's a little pixelated retro looking game, but like it's got really high quality to it. The controls for the game are really fluid. I really like the way that it flows, and it doesn't feel tanky or like it doesn't react quick enough. Like whatever you do, it does what you want to do pretty much. Oh yeah, and occasionally throughout the missions, if you go to certain areas, you'll have like a little indicator to press up on your analog stick, and it'll have you do a special little bonus thing. Like in the very first mission, like the very first room, there's a Christmas tree, and if you stand up next to it and you press up on it, it will light up. So festive. Since that was the first room of the first map, I thought that was going to be like a heavy characteristic, but it's lightly peppered throughout it, but it's nice to have that little attention to detail. Oh yeah, I didn't even really talk about like the main game mechanic, sort of, like it's in the name of the game, door kicking. So like, you walk up to a building and sometimes you can see inside and sometimes you can't. Some of the doors are thinner and you can just open them right up. Some of them you gotta kick them down because they're a little stronger. Depending on which character you have, you might have to like unlock it, but most of them they kick the door down. Now you can be strategic with this. You can start getting an eye for whether or not this door is gonna be an instant open one or if it's gonna be one you gotta work at a little bit. If it's one you gotta work at a little bit and you see some guys inside, then maybe you wanna kick the door and they'll start walking towards it. And then as they get a little closer, you know, you kick it again, and by the third kick, when you're gonna open it up, it'll knock it open and they'll be stunned, and you'll have an opportunity to shoot them down before they have a chance to shoot you back. Now, eventually, like I said, it gets a little harder as you go along, and sometimes the NPCs, they hear the door and they go and they kind of stay back and hide. So it doesn't always work, but a lot of times it's a good way to go about it. Now, when you can't see into the room, you gotta kind of guess and hope that you're not gonna just go in there and blast down some hostages, because you don't want to do that. But you also want to go in and just stand there too long, because then they're gonna blast you down. So it's kind of a roll of the dice sometimes. You gotta kind of figure out what's going on, and you know, you can kind of learn the lay of a map and how it functions, who comes out where, generally speaking. It changes up sometimes, but a lot of the times it's generally the same characters in the same areas on a specific map. It's not always the same per every map. It's just on a mission it's set up a particular way, generally speaking, for the most part. So like, you know, you learn it and you can kind of figure out what you do, but oh man, sometimes you make the same mistake like 5 times in a row and you're like, why did I do that? But like eventually you figure it out and you do it right, and you're like, hey. Some of the missions have multiple buildings. Some of them go way up, some of them go way down. You have elevators, you have to figure out a way to go around. There's like doors that go up and down, they're indicated with arrows, and there's a whole lot of different ways to move around the map, and you have to figure out the specific way to get to certain places. Now, one thing is when you walk up to a window and you look inside, they won't see you outside as long as you don't break the window. So you can kind of get the upper hand, because sometimes if you can't see into a room, you walk up to the window and you can look inside and you can figure out how you want to handle it. But once you do break that window, you gotta be ready to do whatever you're gonna do, because they're gonna come blasting at you. Now, in each chapter, there's different missions with different mission types. Those are indicated with different images overlaying the mission, but they also have right underneath the mission name what it is as well. So if you have any confusion, you can just look right there. There's hostage rescue, straight up just clear hostiles. So that's just an elimination map. Some of the most fun ones, I suppose. There's a few arrest warrants, which you have to go through and you have to eliminate all the enemies except for one guy. You gotta go basically find a way to arrest him without killing him, because if you do, you're gonna lose the mission. So you might find different ways to do things, maybe like a flashbang, Pretty much you gotta get them alone and then they'll kind of surrender. And also later on into it, there's kind of like Skinny Pete looking guys who will run away from you. They don't have any guns, they're just gonna run away, but they're gonna run through doors right into rooms with guys with guns who are gonna shoot at you. And like, you'll get SP if you can arrest those guys, but you gotta stop them before they get through there and you don't get shot, and it's a little bit of a challenge. You gotta arrest Skinny Pete. And then lastly, there's bomb defusals, which you're given a certain amount of time to go find the bomb and defuse it, but then you also gotta go through and you gotta kill all the enemies, and if there's any hostages, you can rescue them too. But your main priority is to get to the bomb and stop it from blowing up first, because if that blows up, then what was the point? In the challenge chapter that I talked about, there's a reason it's called challenges. For each one, there's a particular stipulation that, along with just earning points and earning stars as you go along, you also have to beat that stipulation to beat the challenge. So far, I've only accomplished one of them, and that is win in 3 minutes on the first one. But that's essentially classic mode, and I had so much fun. I put a lot of hours into this game, honestly. Like, I had a lot of fun playing this. Now, also, when I saw this other mode in here, oh man, I was so excited. On the right side of the main screen, you have Zombie Invasion mode. And if you know me, I love zombies. So I'm gonna preface this with, I do like this mode. It's fun, and I'm glad that it's there because it doesn't have to be. It could be just classic mode, and there could just be that. So the fact that there's a zombie mode is pretty awesome because, like I said, I love zombies, so I'm always down for zombies to be in a game. This mode is basically the same exact mode as classic mode, except for there'll be like random rooms throughout the mission that there'll be like an orb kind of glowing thing, and then like zombies will come out of that and they'll start attacking whoever's in the room, and then, you know, they'll take over the room. There'll be zombies and you gotta kill anyone who's remaining in the room and the zombies, and you gotta press up on the analog stick and it'll, you know, close it up like the portal thing, and you complete the rest of the mission the exact same way as you would with, you know, the classic mode, except for there's also some zombies in it. Now, I was kind of hoping that this was like tailored specifically to zombies, and it was like a mode where it's the whole thing is zombies and you have to survive, and it's like a little bit different gameplay. It's a little bit different gameplay for sure. It's not tailored to zombies, it's just zombies kind of plopped into the classic mode. Again, I like it, but I was kind of hoping that it was going to be like a specific zombie mode, maybe one where you had to like build up defenses and stuff like that, but it's fine. I really enjoy it still because, like I said, again, for like the third or fourth time, I love zombies, so it was cool that the developers added that into the game. But like, maybe consider at some point possibly doing some sort of DLC kind of update where maybe it's built around the fact that there's zombies everywhere and there's nobody else really except for small pockets of people, instead of sort of small pockets of zombies with a lot of people around it. I don't know, maybe have different objectives where you have to specifically kill all the zombies and save someone from the zombies instead. I don't know, just kind of throwing something out there. Again, I like the game mode, just saying some stuff. Also, additionally, watch out for the hostages in zombie mode because the hostages sometimes will be zombies and they'll come attack you after you save them. You'll still get the SP, but you gotta kill the zombie first. So I do like that feature, that's different. Oh, also just in general, in some of the missions, you'll have a donut, and look out for that donut. Maybe that's why that old lady is telling you there should be a donut around here somewhere. Maybe there's an actual reason behind it and it's telling you that there's a donut on that level. I'm gonna have to investigate that further because that would be a cool little detail. Also, sometimes the old ladies say this. I have no idea what in the heck they're saying. I don't know what it means. Enlighten me, developers, if you happen to watch this. I'd love to know what they're saying. Now, the last game mode is called Infinity Tower mode, and I wanted to explain the rest of the game before I explain this, because it will make a lot more sense to you now that you know how the rest of the game works. In this mode, as it says right in it, it's randomly generated. You have to kill the enemies, except for in this one, when you kill the enemies, it doesn't raise that special SP meter that I mentioned throughout the beginning of the game. That's a very important aspect to it, especially in this mode. At least as far as I've gotten into it, which isn't very far, honestly. Like, I've gotten killed pretty quickly into it. I managed to get decently far one time, but it's hard. The only way to seemingly get SP is if you rescue hostages, and I don't see a lot of them. That mode is certainly a challenge. So yeah, that is this game. I had a lot of fun playing this game. Like, I couldn't put it down. I wanted to play The Witcher, and then I played this game for days. Like, this game is fun. The music, the art, the flow, just everything behind it is really well done, and I really appreciate all the attention to detail, as well as the extent of what you can actually play as. Like I said, there's 84 missions in classic mode. It's a lot. And there's a lot of replay value because you're probably not gonna get 3 stars every time. It's based off of points and like how many times you die, how many hostages you rescued, and this and that. So you're gonna probably have to go back at least once to get 3 stars in each one. It's gonna be harder than that, but I'm just saying. There's a lot of replay value to this game, so definitely a good one to pick up. If you're looking for a game, it's 15 bucks. I think it's totally worth the price. So if you're looking for a pretty inexpensive game with some high quality value to it, this is one that you don't want to sleep on. Also, loading times for this game are like really quick. You don't have to wait long for anything at all. It's really quick. The pick up and play style of this game is like perfect for the Switch. Like, it's really quick to load up. You can just play for like, I don't know, 3 to 8 minutes. It's probably like an average playthrough for a particular mission, depending on how long it is. So it's not something you have to play for a long time, but it's something you can play for a long time. Turn on your Switch real quick and play a mission or two, or you can sit down for like many hours like I did and just binge play it. And it still took me a few days to actually like play through all the missions doing that. I mean, granted, I wasn't playing the entire day because I had to go to work, but like when I didn't have to be at work, I just played that game a lot because it's a lot of fun. Just saying. Alright guys, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you're interested in this game, in the description below, you'll find a link to the eShop page where this game is available for 15 bucks, like I said. $14.99 plus tax, depending on where you are. 15 bucks, okay? Let me know in the comments below if you're interested in this game, if you picked it up yourself, how far you've gotten, how you feel about it. Like, subscribe, and share. Stay tuned, and I will see you on the next one. Later.